why bring gender into the climate change debate? What is it about that particular issue that can help us move forward in terms of dealing with climate change?
Well, it's difficult to say why, because we believe that in all areas of climate change policy, gender needs to be taken into consideration. The most evident issue is vulnerability, impacts, and adaptation. And so this is also the issue where the gender dimension is, I would say, fully recognized in the meantime, so that women are among the most vulnerable groups, and that specific action needs to be taken to support women with adaptation, with capacity building, and also to rely on women's capacities and knowledge if we want to have effective adaptation, or I prefer to say building resilient communities, because this involves a lot more than, for instance, building dams or so. So I believe, and also other NGOs that are members of the Women and Gender constituency, that gender is relevant also for mitigation policy, it's relevant for finance. So I cannot see any limits, but still this is something we need to raise more awareness, and where this process needs a lot more input. We need more data, for instance, in order to really provide evidence.
And in your experience of working in this arena, do you think governments get it? Do you think diplomats get the link between dealing with gender issues and climate change?
Many of them, yes. So there is a lot of support for gender issues from various governments. There's I would say, a number of in particular, African governments who are aware that gender is a big issue. And there are also governments from the north, like Finland, like Iceland, the European Union as a whole, who are aware of gender issues. The question is only whether they see it only related to development policy, or whether these northern governments also see it as an issue for their own policy.
And what can be done? How can we change the situation? Is it as easy as ensuring that women are placed in top positions, or is there a deeper problem, a deeper malaise?
Of course, it goes deeper. Your question is suggesting this, and I agree. Of course, it's an important first step to have, in general, more women participating in this process. So we're still at about like 30% or so. The number has been slightly increasing during the last 10 or 15 years. But if we look at the heads of delegations, it's still a pretty low number, but we have this leading women, these top women, and this is quite, I think, interesting picture we have, and so there were even media articles about this in Cancun, this 3 very strong women, and now we have also a female COP president. I think that's really important from a participation point of view, from a symbolic point of view, also because I have the expectation that they are more willing to look at the human aspects of climate change. But of course it's not sufficient. So the participation of women and gender balance is one step, but gender issues are going deeper. So we have to dig deeper.
And we're in the, talking about the climate change debate. It is incredibly contested. Many people may say, well, why make it even more difficult and bring in gender to the equation? We've already got people who say climate change doesn't exist. So doesn't this just make coming to a final solution more difficult?
Of course it's more difficult, but that's how the world is. So it's a fact, because I think there are no simple solutions around. There are some people that believe that if you invent the right mechanism, that will solve the problem. But I don't believe that there is not one mechanism. We need a lot of different solutions, a lot of different approaches. So we need this broad variety, and it's something we need to learn a lot. So what works? We need to try. So what approaches do work and what approaches do not work? I think we really have to live with the complexity of the issue, and I think it doesn't make sense to leave out an important dimension of all this, because then a climate policy might not be really effective, because we are all part of the problem and we are all part of the solution. And if you leave out 50% of humankind, it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, well said. And a final question, really: what is your organisation? What do you focus on? What do you do to build awareness of this issue?
So we're a global network of women and also gender experts. We have also male members. We have a very strong branch here in South Africa, where we are working with grassroots women, women in agriculture, women cooperatives that do recycling, women cooperatives that do that build solar collectors or any other renewable energy installations. So our focus has been for a couple of years on the negotiations to do advocacy, but we have now, since 1 or 2 years, started to work at the local and the national level in order to really get something done.